for the battered but proud people of the Empire State. From the financial and entertainment epicenter of New York City to the sleeping and empty small cities and towns of upstate, which once bustled with manufacturing, mining, and farming. We all know from inspiration, history, and nature, we deserve a return to the success and growth of generations past, a birthright being squandered by corruption in Albany, and the depredations of an insecure, scheming mountebank posing as governor, who loathes both us and himself. As liberty beckoned to enslaved peoples behind the Iron Curtain via American broadcasts after World War II, we now say, believe, rise, and join us. Welcome to Radio Free New York.
Hey guys, welcome to Radio Free New York. I'm your host, Andrew Hollister, and we're here in Avon in the WYSL studios with Bob Savage.
Hello, everybody in Avon and the rest of the free world.
Yep, absolutely. So let me tell you guys what we're going to talk about on the show first. So there's two topics I want to hit. We'll hit them a little bit later. The first is the guy out in Utica area, what was it, Deerfield, New York, who got arrested for shooting burglars who broke into his home. We're going to talk about that, talk about some of the issues there, and then we're going to talk about the New York State ethics panel that got an F rating. So no surprise there. We're going to talk about that too. But before we do that, did I hear on the last show there's a warplane thing going on in Geneseo?
Indeed, there is. You can ride in a warplane down to the Geneseo Airport this Saturday, 1st of June. And they've got 3 aircraft there that they will be happy to take you up in. The B-17, the Memphis Bell B-17. There's only...
Is that a bomber?
Yes, B means bomber, a big, heavy bomber, and it's one of 12 left in the world, I believe, and I think only 10 of those are flying. I think that 2 of them are static displays. Okay. You can climb up in and take a look. But, I mean, that thing is enormous.
Is it?
Yeah, the 4 giant engines on that thing. And then we have the Whiskey 7, that's the C-47 cargo plane that actually made the trek originally on June 6, 1944, dropped paratroopers over the beaches of Normandy, and returned 70 years later in 2014. Highly publicized excursion across the Atlantic in this old 2-engine plane. And, of course, they can't fly above the weather, you know. They have to fly at like 2,000 feet.
Yeah.
So going across
the pressurized cabins, right?
Oh, no. They would, when they flew those things past their service ceilings, there was a thing called the hump. That was the Himalayas in World War II. And they flew C-47s over from Nepal to China to supply Chiang Kai-shek. And so the guys that would fly these things would just have oxygen bottles.
Wow.
And of course they were all smoking at the same time.
Sure, yeah.
So the gasoline sloshing in the gutters, and they're smoking, and they're flying these unpressurized, underpowered things. Wow. They used to call the route between Nepal and China the Aluminum Highway. Yeah. But B-17 was called the Flying Fortress. Thank you, Bob. You just brought that nickname into me. So you can ride in the Whiskey 7 C-47, or you can also ride in the L-16 Aranca trainer.
Okay. Wow. Yeah, no, that's pretty cool. I love, just airplanes, aviation. My grandfather was in the Air Force, and a couple birthdays ago, my wife actually purchased my first pilot's license or pilot's lesson.
Yeah.
And I flew a Cessna
152.
No, it was bigger. It was like
172.
It was a 4-passenger. I thought it was either a 76 or an 86 or something like that, 184 or something. I don't remember. It was a little higher up in the numbers. It was
172, I think. Probably.
Maybe. Could be.
Because that's a 4-place plane. And it's a little bit more higher power than the flying Volkswagen, the 152.
Yeah. That plane, I think, was built in... I think he said late 50s or something. So there was not a single digital thing in there.
No.
And it was a blast. But basically, he took off. He got us in the air, and he's like, all right, controls are yours. And I had never flown a plane before, ever. It was a blast. But let me tell you, when the wind comes through and pushes you in one of those little planes, your heart rate shoots through the roof.
There's a lot of movement. Yeah.
Yeah. No, absolutely. You just feel the wind pick up the plane and shift it over.
You get tossed around.
Yeah. So that's pretty cool. I'll probably
do any fun stuff like stalls or anything like that?
No, nothing too crazy. We just kind of like flew over the lakes in Canandaigua and stuff, and it was a good time.
Where did you fly out of?
Canandaigua Airport.
Oh, okay.
Yep. So a little airport there. It was a great time, and I was hoping to do more lessons this year, but didn't get around to it. Seems that the motorcycle, learning how to ride the bike and riding the bike is going to take over this year. Then maybe next year I'll do the pilot's license.
Yeah, that's pretty expensive.
Yeah, it is. But it's not as expensive as you would think, though. A lot of places that do it, you basically just pay the standard rental that you would for a plane, and it's based on hours on the engine. And they give the instructor a discount, so the instructor is essentially making money, but you're paying what you would if you just rented the plane that day.
You have to buy the gas too, don't you?
Not there. You didn't. I'm not sure if that's everywhere.
Wow, that's a great deal.
Yeah.
Usually they charge you for the gas, and 172. What's that burn? 10 gallons an hour, I think.
Maybe. I'm not sure.
So $5 a gallon for avgas. So that's another $50 you pile on.
Sure. Yeah. I want to say it was in the neighborhood of $170 an hour or something like that, which I expected it to be significantly more.
That's a lot more than it used to be.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sure. Yeah. No, absolutely. So, So when I heard that, I thought that was pretty interesting. I figured I'd ask about it. And then, I came across this quote. So as you guys may recall, Monday was Memorial Day. And a lot of people get confused about Memorial Day and Veterans Day and, which is which. And
Flag
Day and, everything else. I think there's Armed Service Day or Armed Forces Day or something like that, kind of like a lesser known holiday. But, I saw this quote on Memorial Day that I wanted to share with everybody. It wasn't contributed to anybody in particular, so maybe this is a famous quote and everybody knows who said this, but it was, "Be an American worth dying for." And, as I was sitting there on Memorial Day, for those of you who don't know, I work a lot. I am constantly working, doing stuff. And Memorial Day is one of the very few days during the year, 4th of July being another one, that I actually take off. Like, I try not to do any type of work. I try to sit there and kind of breathe in the freedom that people fought for in this country. And when I heard that quote, it just rang so true to me that so many people don't sit there and think about the fact that somebody gave their life for the freedom that we enjoy, and that we should be the absolute best we can possibly be, if for nothing else than to honor their sacrifice. So that's something I wanted to share with you guys, not really related to the radio show or anything like that. But, as I read that quote and as I was, riding around, I took a short motorcycle ride that morning and, just really absorbed it all in, what it means to be somebody who lives in the United States of America, the price that people gave to get us here, and then also what politicians have done over the years to really corrupt that freedom, take it away, limit it, and just how much more we need to do as Americans to honor that sacrifice.
Yeah, indeed. Yeah, the naked pursuit of power is it's very cynical, and it does not honor the folks who gave us the freedom that we enjoy. Yeah. And there's so many politicians out there who are just stampeding to try to limit that freedom, to take it away from me, because that means that that's an easy route. It's kind of like cheating. It's kind of like cutting in line. That's how you get to power and wealth. And as anybody who's lived on this planet for any period of time knows, power and wealth are byproducts. You can't get power and wealth directly. You earn that as a result of doing something productive with your life. You invent some wonderful thing, an iPhone or a fast food franchise that everybody wants to do. You're pleasing your fellow man, so to speak. And so the byproduct of that is success. And success produces wealth. And in some cases, it produces fame. personally, I can't imagine why anybody would ever want to be famous, but young people everywhere want that now.
People really crave that nowadays. That's the new social status, I think.
Yeah, be famous. Yeah. No matter what the cost, even if you're infamous, really. And that's not the same thing, infamous and famous. But I digress. The point being, a lot of people use the avenue of politics to kind of short circuit that whole process, and so they, they're penniless. They run for Congress. They become a member of the House, and 10 years later, they're worth $5 million. How did that happen?
Yeah. No, it's very true. Normally in a capitalistic society, you gain success, notoriety by providing value to others.
That's right.
And, whether, like you said, whether it's a product or a service or a food or something like that, but our government officials seem to provide extremely little value.
Influence, that's what they provide.
Yeah, and they somehow gain and reap those same benefits. So, guys, we are going to take a break here on Radio Free New York, and when we come back, we are going to talk about the guy who shot burglars in self-defense in his home and got arrested. We'll be back on Radio Free New York in a moment.
Your business relies on computers and technology to operate. Slow, unreliable networks and servers can cause unplanned downtime and affect your bottom line. The experts at Simple Tech Innovations are here to help. Their preventative maintenance program ensures that your computers and network are kept up to date and monitored for any issues, keeping your business running smoothly. They also help clients achieve HIPAA, PCI, and New York State cybersecurity compliance to keep your network safe and secure. Whatever your business IT needs are, Simple Tech Innovations should be your first call. They've won the Best in Rochester 8 years in a row and have an A+ Better Business Bureau rating. Call them today for a free consultation at 585-200-3182. That's 585-200-3182. Simple Tech Innovations.
A reminder from Abate Monroe County. American bikers aim toward education. Distracted driving is dangerous, so pull over and eat. Don't try to read your mail and newspaper, and stay off your cell phone. Make a mental note to be more alert, making it a habit to expect the unexpected. Remember to look twice. Save a life. Train yourself to watch for motorcycles which are harder to see. Join Abate, and your family will be protected with a free $4,000 accident policy. Ride safe. Ride free. Ride often. Abate. If you ride with us. Google Abate Monroe County.
Why do businesses choose to move their website from Wix and Squarespace to Simple Tech Innovations? Maybe it's their excellent customer service or attention to detail. Maybe it's their ability to give a truly customized solution. Or perhaps they just like the fact that Simple Tech is a local small business that builds great relationships with its clients. Whatever the reason may be, you can rest assured knowing that the local team at Simple Tech has your best interest in mind when building or updating your website. They're
coming back
and love helping customers achieve their goals. But don't take my word for it. They've won the Best in Rochester 8 years in a row and have an A+ Better Business Bureau rating. If your website doesn't match your dreams or isn't achieving your goals, give the professionals at Simple Tech Innovations a call today for a consultation at 585-200-3182. That's 585-200-3182. Simple Tech Innovations.
You're listening to Radio Free New York
On the WYSL station.
Hey guys, how's it going? This is Andrew Hollister, your host of Radio Free New York, and I want to welcome everybody to the show. So everybody who's listening on the WYSL stations right now, those of you who are listening on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube, a couple shout outs to give to people in the comments here. Dan, Barbara, and Jay, thank you guys so much for joining us here. We are going to talk about here in New York State, this guy from Oneida County who had people break into his home. He shot them in self-defense and ended up arrested. Now, it's interesting because he didn't end up being arrested for shooting people. in his home. In fact, New York State does have kind of like a castle law, and a lot of people think you have a duty to retreat in New York State. My understanding is in your home, you do not have the duty to retreat. And the logic behind that is if you're in your home, where else can you retreat to, at that point?
I think especially at night.
Yeah. So this story is interesting and concerning. So I'll give you guys just a little bit of background. This is in Deerfield, New York. The man whose home was broken into, he's 64 years old, and two people broke into his home. I forget if it was a mother and a son. I don't see that part here, but these two people, they have the same last name. They appear to be related. Broke into this guy's home. He shot them. The police went and investigated their home after the fact and found stolen items in their home, found stolen items from his house from previous burglaries in their home.
Oh, they've been there before.
Yep. So the police are saying they're pretty sure these people have broken into his home before. They were going back to steal more, which means this guy's been burglarized in the past. So he's already a scared guy. Now, guess what his crime was in this situation?
Unregistered handgun?
Unregistered handgun. Yep. So what happened is his father passed away. It was his father's handgun, and it was never properly re-registered to him after his father passed away. So this happens. This guy says he was absolutely terrified for his life. He thought they were going to kill him. He fired in self-defense. Police came. They looked at the crime scene. They did everything. The district attorney said that everything appeared to be justified in the shooting. If this is like Monroe County, it'll more than likely be going to grand jury. And then a couple days later, the police come back to the home because they realized that the firearm wasn't on his pistol permit and charged him.
So he had a pistol permit, but it just wasn't on there?
It appears, well, let's see. So this says possessing a handgun without a pistol permit. So it doesn't actually say specifically if he has one, it wasn't on it, or if he doesn't have one at all. That's unclear. That's a good question. We'll have to kind of wait to see what comes out on that. But they charge him with a Class E felony.
Yeah.
For this.
Yeah. Well, that's the SAFE Act for you.
Yep. So here you've got somebody who was afraid for their life and had a firearm to use at his disposal, and did, as the Second Amendment intended, as our rights and our liberties, and now he's looking at Class E felony. I'm not sure if he's employed or not, but chances are very good he's going to lose his livelihood. And now probably spend, my guess, about $10,000, $10,000 to probably $30,000 in legal fees.
Judging from the photographs I've seen of the house in Deerfield, I think the likelihood that he has $10,000 is very small.
Yeah, and there were mentions in the articles and stuff like that it seemed very similar. Yeah, that he's probably not going to have the money for legal defense. I don't know what that means for him. Does that just mean this guy's going to end up in jail for how many years?
Yeah, public defender. Yeah,
public defender, and extreme expense to the taxpayer, extreme expense to him. If he does get convicted and goes to jail, guess who's paying for that? Us, as the taxpayer. It's really it's really terrible. When you look at the situation, what's happening here, this is exactly what the Constitution was designed to prevent. And here we have it. We're having this happen in New York State, and it's just really frustrating. I did a couple weeks ago. I came across a court case, and I can't remember which case it was. I was trying to find it for you guys this morning, but there was a court case that suggested that there was a ruling by the Supreme Court that the government can't outlaw a weapon as long as it's maintained only in your home on your property. And I forget exactly what this related to. And I was reading that and thinking, does that mean people can theoretically own pistols in New York State, with or without a pistol permit, as long as they never took it outside of their home, outside of their property. I think this ruling happened in another state. And so I was thinking about that, and this kind of came to mind to me again. Once again, I couldn't find the court case, so I couldn't find the very specific wording. That, New York State's arrested this man for having means to defend himself in his home. He didn't go out looking for anybody to hurt them. He didn't go out to knock over a liquor store. He literally just lived in his home. Doesn't sound like he was bothering anybody. People came into his property, and now he's the one that's going to suffer the consequences.
Are the two burglars dead?
They are.
Did you kill them both?
Yeah. So the first one was dead on scene. The second one was taken to the hospital and I guess died later that night. Okay. Yeah. So, well, the general principle, the law values the sanctity of human life above property. So this gentleman's name is going to have to make a case, and a convincing case, that he really feared for his life. This wasn't this wasn't just a property crime. Yeah, well, and it's interesting because the article actually says here. Okay, so the Castle Doctrine is different from Stand Your Ground. It does allow for using deadly force if a person reasonably believes a person is committing or attempting to commit a burglary, and also believes his or her use of deadly physical force is necessary to stop or prevent a burglary.
Do we know if the burglars were armed?
So that's actually one of the questions I had written down here. None of the articles mention if they were or were not armed. It does, however, say in a different part of the article that the police asked, did you see anything in their hands? And he said, I didn't look at their hands. Okay. He's like, I saw them coming at me and thought to myself, it's either me or them, and started firing. All right. Now let's just a little public service announcement here. We'll just pass along to the fine folks listening out there. Don't talk to the cops. Don't ever talk to the cops. Yeah. Just say, I want a lawyer, and then zip it. Mm-hmm. You don't have to be rude. Don't get porky with them or anything, because then they get mad, and that's not a good thing. But everybody thinks, well, and they'll say things to you like, "Can you just help us out here? We just have to fill out this report. We think that you're okay. We don't think you did anything wrong." They'll do all these things. They'll say, and not, all that's bunk. None of that they can lie to you. They can say, "No, listen, you're not in trouble." Yeah. And then next thing you know, you got a serious charge hanging over your head. Yeah. This is what they do. This is how the cops are. I'm not denigrating the cops, but this is the technique that they use. They want to take you into their confidence, and they'll hang you with the stuff that you say. They really will. Don't talk to the cops like this guy. No. When they say, did you see anything in their hands? You say, I want a lawyer. Yeah. Yeah. I think, all due respect, officer, you're doing a great job. I want a lawyer. Yeah, probably in just a super respectful way of saying is, I don't answer questions without my attorney present. I'd be happy to answer your questions after I talk to my attorney. And I'd be happy to answer your questions with my attorney present. Yep. Yeah. Yeah, because you don't know. And to Bob's point here, when the police show up and you've killed somebody, they may be the nicest person in the world, but in the back of their mind, until something's proven otherwise, you've just killed somebody. Yeah. They don't send you to bed without dinner when you've offed somebody. Yeah, they're sitting there and they're trying to figure out. It's their job to see, did you break the law or not? Did you kill these people on purpose? Were you within the law? And that's what the court system's going to figure out. But they're the ones gathering all the evidence for the courtroom. And if you say something that is like, oh, holy crap, this guy killed this person on purpose or whatever, of course they're going to write it down. Nicest person in the world. It's still their job to collect evidence. They're not your friend. They can say stuff, and they frequently do, like, oh, This looks really scary. You must have been scared out of your mind. You poor guy. This is your house, and these creeps come in. Just help me fill out this paperwork.
I got a couple questions. Just let me fill, and then we'll let you get some rest.
Yeah.
Don't buy it.
Yeah, especially with the way words can be taken out of context, and we've seen this under the SAFE Act with the medical reporting, right? It's not even just with police, where somebody came into the emergency room. Hey, rate your pain on a scale of 1 to 10. How bad it hurts? Oh, it hurts so bad I could die. Oh, it hurts so bad you could die? This person might be at risk to themselves and somebody else. Quick, report them to New York State. Then you lose your right to own a firearm. State police show up and take your guns away. It's dangerous.
An instructional video, ladies and gentlemen. If you haven't seen it, watch the interrogation scene on My Cousin Vinny if you want to know how this goes.
There you go. I guess I'll have to watch it. I haven't seen it.
Oh, you've got to see that one.
All right, guys, we're going to take a break here on Radio Free New York. We'll be back in a moment.
Listening to the voice of liberty. WYSL. AM 1040 Avon, Rochester. FM 92.1 Rochester. FM 95.5 Spencerport. And WYSL1040.com everywhere.
Why do businesses choose to move their website from Wix and Squarespace to Simple Tech Innovations? Maybe it's their excellent customer service or attention to detail. Maybe it's their ability to give a truly customized solution. Or perhaps they just like the fact that Simple Tech is a local small business that builds great relationships with its clients. Whatever the reason may be, you can rest assured knowing that the local team at Simple Tech has your best interest in mind when building or updating your website. They're hands-on and love helping customers achieve their goals. But don't take my word for it. They've won the best in Rochester 8 years in a row and have an A+ Better Business Bureau rating. If your website doesn't match your dreams or isn't achieving your goals, give the professionals at Simple Tech Innovations a call today for a consultation at 585-200-3182. That's 585-200-3182. Simple Tech Innovations.
Aircraft Environmental Systems proudly supports Radio Free New York. Rochester-based leaders in climate simulation chambers for America's R&D laboratories. We're experts in troubleshooting, calibrations, custom designs, and consulting for more than 40 years. Industry pioneers, we created the first ever fleet of temperature, humidity, and altitude test chambers available to rent coast to coast. Trained and trusted by environmental chamber manufacturers, we are ACES. Find us at acesinc.com.
Your business relies on computers and technology to operate. Slow, unreliable networks and servers can cause unplanned downtime and affect your bottom line. The experts at Simple Tech Innovations are here to help. Their preventative maintenance program ensures that your computers and network are kept up to date and monitored for any issues, keeping your business running smoothly. They also help clients achieve HIPAA, PCI, and New York State cybersecurity compliance to keep your network safe and secure. Whatever your business IT needs are, Simple Tech Innovation should be your first call. They've won the best in Rochester 8 years in a row and have an A+ Better Business Bureau rating. Call them today for a free consultation at 585-200-3182. That's 585-200-3182. Simple Tech Innovations.
Radio Free New York on WYSL. AM 1040, FM 92.1, and FM 95.5 West.
All right, we are back here on Radio Free New York. I'm your host, Andrew Hollister, and we're talking about the guy in Oneida who shot burglars who broke into his home, and kind of his whole situation. He got arrested because he had a pistol that his father, who passed away, owned. We're not sure if he has a valid New York State pistol permit or not, but even if he did, this pistol wasn't registered to that permit, and he ended up getting charged with a Class E felony for possession of this firearm. Now, interestingly enough, it's kind of an interesting situation to be talking about because he, at least at this point that I'm aware of, is not being charged for killing the two burglars. He's only being charged for potentially having an illegal firearm in his home. And just kind of a little quote here from his attorney to explain this for those of us who are listening and kind of wondering, how this could play out, what it looks like. His attorney says, juries are instructed as a part of the justification defense that people can use deadly force to repel a burglar or a burglary in process if they reasonably believe it's a burglary.
Well, that's the rub right there.
Yeah. So,
is it reasonable for him to believe that this was a burglary?
I'm thinking two people forcibly breaking into your home probably is going to do that. And that's kind of along the lines of what the DA said, where, the DA said everything appears to be justified. They're still investigating, but it seems to be justified.
Wait a minute, the DA in Oneida says that it looks justified?
That's what it says. It says...
why is he arrested then?
Well, he's arrested because
is he in custody?
The illegal handgun.
Oh, right. Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
So not for the shooting of the burglars, for the handgun that wasn't registered.
Okay.
Which,
that's a big deal in this state. Shouldn't be, but it is.
Yeah. No, absolutely. So that's the issue here. It's just.
Is he out on bail? Do we know? I wonder.
It doesn't say. It doesn't say. Sometimes people get released on their own recognizance, which is, they don't think you're a flight risk. They don't think you're.
Depends on his record.
Yeah, it depends on your record. If you're working somewhere, do you have family nearby? They take all those different things into consideration when setting bail, but. Yeah, I don't know. So I was really hoping to find that court case I was talking about that discussed having a weapon for defense in your home essentially can't be regulated or restricted. It's when you take that out of your home and bring it into the public, it then becomes a public safety issue and therefore could be regulated. But I couldn't figure out which court case that was. I was really hoping to have it for you guys. But the thing that I really wanted to talk about is if the government can pick and choose who gets to carry a firearm, then your right to keep and bear arms really doesn't exist at that point. It really just becomes a privilege because government's choosing who can and cannot have something to defend themselves with. If you can't carry a weapon anywhere but inside your home, then really your right only exists inside of your home. So these are things that I want us to think about and talk about. The idea that do we really have the right if somebody's giving us the permission to, or is it just a privilege? And I definitely feel that if government is picking and choosing who can have a pistol in their home, it has not been used as a right. It's being used as a privilege. And then by restricting who can carry a pistol permit or who can carry a pistol by means of a pistol permit, well, that's just selecting a few. And especially in New York State where it's so expensive to get a pistol permit. I don't know what it costs in Monroe County right now, but I think it's like $130 or $160. Some people don't have that. So now we've created a barrier to entry where if you're a poor person, you can't even apply for your right to defend yourself because you have to choose between your right to defend yourself and feeding your family, taking care of your kids, paying the rent. I think it's a really terrible thing that in New York State, and there's other states that do this too, that we put a dollar amount on your right to protect yourself. Now, a critic to that could say, well, you only need to pay for a pistol permit. You could get a rifle or shotgun to defend yourself. Although that may be true, you're still picking and choosing who can protect themselves how, and go ahead and give a small-framed individual, male or female, doesn't matter, a 12-gauge shotgun and tell them, go ahead and wield this around to protect yourself. They're going to struggle with that. They are. I've seen it. I've been to the range. I've seen it. Whereas you could give somebody a little 380 pistol or a 9mm pistol, teach them in a day or two how to become proficient with that, and the size of that individual doesn't matter, but now they can adequately defend themselves and keep themselves safe and keep their children safe and their family safe. But in New York State, if you want those things, you have to pay for it. Whereas in other states, you don't have to pay for your right to defend yourself. You can go and, your driver's license is your pistol permit. You can go and you can purchase a handgun and you can protect yourself. So that's my big issue with it. I get frustrated when I see this sort of stuff where, you would think that this guy would have been arrested for shooting and killing the burglars. He wasn't. That was within the law. What appears to not have been within the law is the fact that this pistol wasn't registered to him. So it's an issue. It's a big issue.
Maybe thinking of McDonald versus Chicago.
That might be.
Which is kind of a companion case to Heller. The right to keep and bear arms for self-defense in one's home, protected under the Second Amendment and is incorporated against the states through the Due Process Clause of the 14th Amendment. So the decision from the Seventh Circuit, the Court of Appeals, was reversed and remanded.
There you go.
The findings. So.
Yep. And I know in Hawaii, not so long ago, the Ninth Circuit of Appeals basically ruled that they couldn't prevent people from carrying pistols in public. So that's interesting. I don't know the Ninth Circuit, if they must not have jurisdiction over New York. The
Ninth Circuit is the Western states.
Yeah. So it's interesting that some states in some parts of the country, it's been ruled that they have more rights than us, essentially, and that hasn't happened in this side of the country yet, which is just another thing that's frustrating. Unequal application of our rights based on what state you live in, what area of the country. It's a big issue. I've got a big issue with it. So speaking of New York State and things I have an issue with, my favorite...
Where do we start?
Yeah, where do we start? I got a new one for you guys today. You guys hear me constantly say New York State wins all the wrong races. Well, guess what? Yeah. Here we are again.
Amen.
Yep. Our state ethics panel ranks bottom for independence and transparency.
Who needs those things?
Yeah.
There's a bunch of claptrap. You know what? Just pay your taxes and let government make all the decisions.
Carry on, good citizen. We'll do it for you. So this is JCOPE, which JCOPE stands for, where is it? It's the Joint Commission on Public Ethics.
It has nothing to do with marijuana, folks.
No, no, it doesn't. So they're supposed to, scrutinize campaign finance, look into misconduct from elected officials, go through all sorts of different not conspiracy, corruption stuff, any sort of thing that is bad and wrong that your elected officials are doing, they are supposed to investigate, look into, uncover, protect the taxpayer, protect the citizens from the elected officials. Well, the Center for Public Integrity gave them an F rating. And there's a number of reasons for that. But before I get into that, you guys are familiar with League of Women Voters. They're probably one of my favorite, electoral education bodies. Also places like Reinvent Albany and Common Cause. I'm not as familiar with those two organizations. But they've all stepped up and said, the only way this is going to be fixed is by scrapping the whole ethics board. Just totally get rid of it, nuke it, tear it all down, and rebuild it. And here's one of the biggest reasons why. Guess how people get to be a part of this ethics board?
They pay something to someone. It's like initiation fee. It's graft.
Probably, yeah. They get appointed by the people they oversee.
Wow.
So,
isn't that, that's I like that because it's neat and tidy.
Yeah. I mean, it's clean. Obviously, these people have high moral and ethical standards.
No question.
No conflict of interest here.
No, of course not.
And get this, the way it's set up, it only takes a few votes. Sounds like not even a simple majority to stop an investigation into an elected official. So this whole thing is just clearly a mess. And if I can just add to this, if you didn't think that was bad enough, the last 3 directors of the commission were former Cuomo aides.
Well, listen, the nice thing about this ethics panel is it'll save a lot of time.
Yeah, it'll save a lot of time. There won't be any investigations. They certainly won't get anything done. So, guys, we're going to take a break here.
Corruption? What corruption? I can't see any corruption.
Yeah, I can't see any. It's, the guy who appointed me? No, couldn't be him.
Who's buying the first round tonight, by the way?
Yeah. So, guys, when we come back, we're going to talk a little bit more about this. This is a big issue in New York State. So we'll be back here in a moment on Radio Free New York.
Your business relies on computers and technology to operate. Slow, unreliable networks and servers can cause unplanned downtime and affect your bottom line. The experts at Simple Tech Innovations are here to help. Their preventative maintenance program ensures that your computers and network are kept up to date and monitored for any issues, keeping your business running smoothly. They also help clients achieve HIPAA, PCI, and New York State cybersecurity compliance to keep your network safe and secure. Whatever your business IT needs are, Simple Tech Innovations should be your first call. They've won the Best in Rochester 8 years in a row and have an A+ Better Business Bureau rating. Call them today for a free consultation at 585-200-3182. That's 585-200-3182. Simple Tech Innovations.
I'm Las from Action Towing and Service. The people really make this place incredible. I feel at home. I love what I do. I love the people that I work with. The owner of the business is actively involved. He is a veteran. We have a very close relationship with all of the staff. Every employee there is known by name, and we really, really work hard on giving that home feel, or the family feel. Please give us an opportunity to win your business. Come down and visit us at 275 Marketplace Drive, right off of Jefferson Road.
Why do businesses choose to move their website from Wix and Squarespace to Simple Tech Innovations? Maybe it's their excellent customer service or attention to detail. Maybe it's their ability to give a truly customized solution. Or perhaps they just like the fact that Simple Tech is a local small business that builds great relationships with its clients. Whatever the reason may be, you can rest assured knowing that the local team at Simple Tech has your best interest in mind when building or updating your website. They're hands-on and love helping customers achieve their goals. But don't take my word for it. They've won the Best in Rochester 8 years in a row and have an A+ Better Business Bureau rating. If your website doesn't match your dreams or isn't achieving your goals, give the professionals at Simple Tech Innovations a call today for a consultation at 585-200-3182. That's 585-200-3182. Simple Tech Innovations.
You're listening to Radio Free New York on the WYSL stations.
All right, guys, we are back here on Radio Free New York. We are talking about New York State winning in all the wrong places yet again, with our ethics committee.
The Nitwit Derby coming in first. Yes.
I don't even know. Yeah.
Get the gold, we get the silver, we get the bronze. We win them all.
Yeah, we're just constantly winning in all the wrong places. But before I jump into that, I want to ask you guys to consider supporting Radio Free New York on Patreon. So Patreon is a way that you can support Radio Free New York via monthly subscription, help us keep the content flowing and help us expand the show. I've gotten a lot of requests to do possibly a 5-day-a-week show, Monday through Friday, instead of just Mondays and Fridays. And if you guys want to see that happen, I need your help. So what you would do is you would go to patreon.com, and that is spelled patreon.com/RFNY. So patreon.com/RFNY. For less than a cup of coffee a week, you can help us expand the show.
Nice.
Yep. And then you can hear me talk more, I guess.
Yeah, by the way, quick programming note, too, I want to throw out here. If you're having trouble getting the signal today on the AM side, if you're listening to the, to our flagship station, we are operating at reduced power today because some guys are doing some construction work out on the towers. So to keep them safe, we have to cut the power back. Sorry about that.
Yeah, we don't want to zap anybody out there. That wouldn't be good. So
normally there's a lot of power out there in that field.
Yeah. I'm sure. Yeah, I can only imagine. So what we're talking about is JCOPE, the Joint Commission of what's the P stand for? Public Ethics. Is supposed to have oversight over our elected officials. It's their job to make sure that corruption isn't happening in Albany or anywhere else in the state, that people aren't dipping into public funds, giving bribes, or giving jobs to their cronies, all of that. And it's terribly ineffective, and so much so that we've got an F rating and we're among the bottom of the nation. So it's an issue. And I found over the break, I found this. It says, instead of a majority vote, it has this very convoluted system where just 3 members can block an investigation from being opened if they disagree.
Out of how many? Do we know how many members there are?
14.
3 out of 14.
3 out of 14
can stop the process.
Stop the process. Yes. So that's a huge issue, and you guys all are probably aware that we've had a lot of corruption issues and scandals here in New York.
Really?
I
hadn't noticed.
Yeah, nobody knows. But think of Dean Skelos, Joe Percoco,
Sheldon Silver.
Yeah, I mean the list goes on and on. You would think
Alain Carrier, whatever his name is, Alain. Kelsey.
Something.
Calieros.
Yeah.
There it is.
So, we've had these scandals. Not only were they not actually brought up by this ethics board, but in the case of Joe Percoco, the board actually was fighting.
Tried to suppress it. Yeah.
Stop and not have this investigation, to the point where a judge ruled in court that they had to at least bring a vote to the table on having this investigation. So this is a serious issue. Once again, really, really ineffective. And it's just a room full of Cuomo's buddies, scratching each other's backs and covering for the politicians instead of protecting the people. So it's a big issue. So this article comes out. I mean, WXXI covers it along with everybody else. And Walter McClure, who is the JCOPE spokesman, says they have no comment about the Center for Public Integrity's ratings, but he said that the commission is simply functioning under the rules set up by the governor and state assembly. So I read that as, we're not doing anything we're not allowed to do or supposed to do.
I read that as glib. That's how I read that.
Yeah, that's an issue.
It's kind of beside the point, don't you think? I mean, isn't the whole idea here that you're trying to root out corruption?
Yeah.
It's not about what you're allowed to do. It's what you're supposed to do.
Yeah. Yeah.
But of course, you don't care about that because you're just another political hack, whoever you are.
And a appointed position, my guess is paid a generous salary, I'm sure. And, like I said, the last 3 directors were former Cuomo aides. These people are appointed by Cuomo and the legislature, and it only takes 3 to block an investigation out of 14 people on the panel. There's a lot of issues here. So how could we fix this, right? Because that's why I think the big issue is. The first answer is transparency. Transparency. Because here's what I found. So last month, they had a multi-hour meeting. Only 12 minutes was made publicly available out of the hours and hours that they had met. So somebody could argue, and probably will if they haven't already, that, well, these meetings have to be quiet and closed off because if we're investigating somebody, they can't know that we're onto them. Guess what? You haven't been investigating anybody. You're blocking investigations. So I say transparency. Transparency is the very first thing. They say all the time, if you want to get rid of darkness, you got to shed light on it. We've got a lot of darkness going on in here. It's got to go.
Andrew, you're just a killjoy.
Yeah, I know.
Spoiling the party.
Spoiling the fun. I know. The other thing is, I think an elected official should be sitting and responsible for this committee. Now, there could be a little conflict of interest with that because that person could end up being under investigation by the committee. But if we start by eliminate this goofy 3 people can block an investigation thing, first and foremost. Simple majority or even 2/3 to block an investigation, something like that. But second, I want an elected official on the hook for when they screw up. So whoever that is, they need to be worried that if this ethics committee isn't performing well, they could potentially lose their seat.
Wait, you want transparency and accountability too?
Yeah, I know.
Both?
I know. I'm asking for a bit much here. But I think.
Do you forget this is New York?
I know. It's pretty bad here. But I think those are 2 really good steps. I talk about this with the MTA too. Cuomo can point at the MTA and say, wow, that's so bad. That's so awful. Too bad. New York deserves better, blah, blah, blah.
Who's running the state, Andy?
Yeah. But he's not on the board and no elected officials are. So he can point at them and yell at them and say it's their fault. It is his fault. He's probably appointed everybody on the board, but he creates a degree of separation so he can point the finger elsewhere. Same thing with JCOPE. We got to put somebody who's elected on the hook, have some accountability. And then the last thing that we really got to do, this whole idea that citizens have to create a FOIL request when they want information that they can have access to by creating a FOIL request. We just need the information to be public. The information should just be public. Anything that you could or would FOIL should just be public information. They've already got the records. They're storing them terribly. That's one issue. But the records are there. They should be public. You should just be able to go to the JCOPE website, the NewYorkState.gov website, and pull up whatever records it is that you want. And then we could eliminate a whole department too. All these people that have to process FOIL requests, have them get a job somewhere else, stop spending my taxpayer money, and give the people of New York and the rest of the country for that matter, some transparency. That's what we need. If we want to get this issue fixed, that's what we got to do.
Many of the time, people have tried to file FOIL requests anyway, and they either get ignored or they get delayed, by this preposterous degree.
Yeah.
A year and a half later, you're waiting for a response to your FOIL request.
I have a FOIL request that I made in my first run for city council over 2 years ago now. I still don't have an answer to it. It's a very simple request asking about open bids. That's all it was. Still no response. So, yeah, it's an issue. It is. But my take is, if it's information that you can FOIL, why isn't it public? And that's why I believe, I had one day that there were like 6 cop cars in front of my house. Something was going on, and they were blocking my exit to get out of my home. And I said, "What's going on?" And the officer responded, "When a report's filed, you can foil it." And I was like,
that's helpful.
Yeah, I'm like, okay, I got to go to work, and, you talk about serving and protecting people. That to me was a little inappropriate. Now, somebody said, well, they don't know who's who, and maybe you're the person they're looking for. I'm thinking
sounds like a stock answer to me.
If they were looking for me, they'd probably knock on my front door, not be like combing through the yards in front of the house type thing. And if there was a risk, you got a whole bunch of cops there, I would like to know about it. My wife's in the house and this and that. I want to know. I don't want to know a week later when the report's done. So transparency, accountability. I know it sounds like really simple, basic stuff. That's what we need if we're going to fix New York, guys. Some simple stuff. So, guys, we're going to talk on Monday. On Monday, we might talk about the banning of hunting and fishing competitions. So I'll catch you next time on Radio Free New York.